This video is sponsored by Qonversion.io. Welcome to the second part of our two-part video course on building a complete game. In this video, we're going to add working ads as well as in-app purchases to the game. And we will have complete control over it using our today's sponsor, Qonversion.io. In today's video, we're going to finally implement their services into our app in order to get more power and control over our ads, in-app purchases, as well as subscriptions, as well as turning our simple Unity project into a fully fledged money-making Android app. If you haven't seen the first part of this course, make sure to check it out at the link in the description below. Also down there, you can find the link to the complete project we built in the first part, in case you just want to use that to follow along in this video. Alright, so finally we're at the point where we're going to use our sponsor, Qonversion.io, which is the subscription data platform for mobile-first companies. So it's a cross-platform subscription infrastructure, A/B testing, revenue analytics, engagement, automation, and integration all in one place to grow your app faster. And this counts for games as well, because games are, well, mobile games specifically, because they are apps as well. And the cool thing is, no credit card is required and you can get started for free. So I really love this business model because it allows everyone that follows along with this video to just use it for free and test it without having to pay anything and even without needing a credit card. So please follow along and also sign up and register on Qonversion.io. Please use the URL that I'm going to display on the screen here. You can find it also in the description below, because then Qonversion.io will know that you registered because of this video, and this really helps us out. And if you want us to create more of these amazing videos, then please make sure to use the link, because it really helps us out. And otherwise these kind of videos will not be possible for us. I mean, it's a multi-hour course, and without your interaction with our sponsors, we will not be able to do that in the future. So thanks a lot for everyone who's registering using our link and using Qonversion.io. And obviously also thanks to Qonversion, first of all, for allowing us to use their amazing tool, and secondly for sponsoring this video. So a lot of companies are using it. Maple Labs are using it. Scale Your Business, while they are ready. They have 4 million active subscribers, 150 million active monthly users, managing 250 million in revenue, and they have 15 terabytes of data served per month. So they are quite experienced, that they really know what they're doing, helping out on automation. They have an amazing cross-platform solution, helping with analytics and integrations. So definitely check out their website to learn more about them. But now let's go ahead and sign up for free. As I said, please use the link that I have given you, and then just enter your data here. All right, once you are logged in, make sure to check your emails, because you should get a confirmation email where you need to verify your email address. And once you did that, you can get to the screen where you will be able to add a new project. But before we do that, let's first check what Qonversion actually offers us. So first of all, here we have the analytics. So everything like real-time info, which is what I actually quite like, since it does add a lot of info about new users by day, new trials by hour. Like you can see in your daily users so far today, the conversions of trials, trial subscription, everything is shown in real time here for Android or for iOS. We will be using Android, however, and then you can also have typical infos like how many installs or how many installed users you have. And we're in test mode, so those are 9 test installs that, by the way, you can actually turn off and on right here. Then you can find obviously installs to paid. So how many installs went all the way to a paid install, like with an in-app purchase. Then we got the trials. If you go trials enabled in your app, then this will track how many people are on trial right now. This one will be installed to trial. So how many people started to trial, and then the trial to paid, how many people started the trial and ended up deciding to buy the subscription, and how many people canceled the trial. And then we have new sales, so how many sales we got. You can see the events, which is actually a pretty interesting page. Since this page, we can see every kind of purchase, every single subscription, across all the different stores that you have. To use as an example so that you can visualize what this means, if we check out this sign right here, it will send us to this page, to the official conversion documentation, and in here you will be able to see this nice graph right here that actually shows you what each color will be meaning. And as you can see here, separated by date and by amount, it keeps track of every in-app purchase, subscription, trials, gives track of everything. You can select by store, you can change the store, you can just have them all at the same time and change the time frame, check by date. It's just a really useful graph to keep track of all your purchases. Then we also have cohorts and customers. Actually, here in customers, here we will be able to see how many active customers, subscribers and sales we have. And here we will be getting a list of customers right here. Actually, here you could also add a special user ID. Like if you're, for example, you're using something like Firebase, you could add that right here as well and use it in your app. Then we've actually got A/B testing, which is really something that makes conversion shine here, because this will help us to compare different products that we have and compare which one works the best and which one are people more likely to buy and more often, and which one gives them the most amount of conversion. Like with events, let's go to the official documentation and take a look at how it's explained in detail. To use the example they have shown here, we have group A and group B. Let's say, for example, you have an annual subscription with a 3-day free trial at $39.90. Then you have a group B with an annual subscription that have a 7-day free trial but at $49.90. Now what you can do is with these two, you can set them up in a way that 50% of the time this one is shown and 50% of the other users will be shown this one. And this way you can tell which one of those two are more likely to sell. And that way you'll learn, okay, people really want the 7-day free trial because this one sells more even though it's more expensive. Like they prefer to hear that they have a whole week to test it and then pay this price even though it's more expensive. Then they rather to get the cheaper way. Really neat tool that you really need to try out and really need to test because it will help you to get the most out of your app. Another thing actually is automation. This one could be really useful for you as well. If you, for example, have some, let's say a product that requires an external link, you could send them a push notification with that link included so that they can directly click on it and get what they purchased from you. Also simple things like, for example, when the trial finalizes or just gets cancelled, then they will get a push notification, which, for example, let's say an offer or a notice that the trial ended and that they need to buy a subscription. And then this is the one that we will be using during this tutorial. The most probably is the production center. I already have here some of the products, but I will show you obviously how to actually set them up. Let's first go through what we are actually seeing here. In this product center, basically it's just a page where you can see all of your products that you set up for your app. Like for example, in my case here, I have a premium subscription and here I have the cookie skin that I set up as a one-time purchase. And this is specifically our permissions. That's what we will be checking if the user actually has this permission to be using a specific part, let's say, of your app. In this case, for example, if we check premium permissions, then we know that the user has access to premium content, and that will be meaning in our case an ad-free app. So that's basically just to tell us what kind of permission we're giving the user depending on what things he bought. Then we have offerings, which are collections and our groups of different products that we have. Like in this case, we just have included in the premium offering our premium product, which we will show right now. But you could, for example, instead of premium offerings, add some skins in there, or let's say any other product that you have. And same thing here, where I have a chocolate chip cookie offering. Then we have products. Products are the base of all of these, and that's basically just what you are actually giving the user. Here we have a subscription, a direct subscription. That means that there's no trial before that, so that's just a straight up subscription. The duration is annual. If we make it with Google Play, here's the App Store ID if you want to set it up for iOS or the App Store, or if you have them for both here. That's another advantage of Qonversion, that we can straight up just see or use this to handle both Play Stores and get data and events in real time and everything directly from both, and don't need to go individually to each page to get data from each page. You can also use Stripe. which means that you can even add to your real-time data every payment that you have received directly from Stripe itself. And here we will just add the permission that is linked to that specific product. If you actually open up one of them, we can see here all of the data. It has the conversion product ID, that is the one that we're going to be using inside of our code, the type of the product, the duration, and then all IDs from every page. And down here we can enable or disable different permissions that this product gives. So great, let's actually start with creating our project. I'm going to call my project Cookie Clicker, in my case with the 1, because I had created it in the past for testing purposes. So here I'm going to switch to Android and call it Cookie Clicker 1 and then click Next. So here I'm going to switch to Android, select the Google Play console, and then I need to give it an Android package name as well as the service account credentials and connect to a Google developer account. So in case you don't have a Google developer account, you need to make sure that you are visiting this page here. Now you need to have a Google developer account in order to publish anything on the Google Play Store. So definitely make sure to go to play.google.com/console, and there you can go to your Google Play account by registering. If you have a Gmail account already, you can just use that. And after you have created an account, you will need to set up a Google payment profile to receive payouts from Google. If you want to know more about that, definitely check out this link here, create a payments profile, in case you get stuck doing so. There is a one-time fee that you need to pay to become a Google developer. Usually that's around $25, I think, but maybe they are changing the price over time. I don't know, but that's a one-time fee, different to the $100 that you have to pay if you want to become an iOS developer per year. Okay. Once you are logged into your play.google.com/console as a developer, you can go ahead and create a new app. So here, let's go ahead and create an app. Let's call this one Cookie Clicker. Now you can change the default language if you want to. Then make sure that you select that it's a game. You can select that the app is going to be free. Then you should check out the developer programming policies and confirm them once you're happy and read through them. And the same goes for the Play app signing terms of service. Read those and accept them once you're ready, as well as the US export laws. And then you can create your app. Once you're in the console and you created the app, you can go to all apps, and then on the left hand side you will find the API access. Now here you need to choose a project to link. To continue, you will need to agree to the following terms of service. So read through them by clicking on them, and once you're happy with that, you can click on I agree. And here I'm going to link it to a new project. So create new project and then link project. Now at this point, you will find this screen where you have the API access with your linked Google Cloud project, with your auth clients and the service account. So at this point, you need to click on create new service account, where it says go to the cloud platform. Once you're here, you can create a new service account. Now the service account, I'm going to call it Cookie Clicker, and the account ID, as you see here, will be Cookie Clicker. Then the service account description, I'm going to call it access key for conversion API, and then click on create and continue. Now, in order to grant the service account access to project, I'm going to select hub sub admin. So full access to topics, subscriptions, and snapshots. So this will be required to enable Google real-time developer notifications. So here, select this. And then we're going to add another role, which will be monitoring. So here you can also search for monitoring and viewer. So let me enter that. Monitoring viewer, which is this one. Read-only access to get and list information about all monitoring data and configuration. All right, once you have done that, click on continue, and the grant user access to the server account can stay empty as it is optional. And then you can click on done. In case the page doesn't display anything here, you need to refresh it. So I had to do it as well because it didn't display anything for me here. But now you see that I'm golden and I have everything that I need here. Now open your new service account, and here you will find the name as well as the description with the email and the unique ID, and then you can go over to your keys and create a new key. So here, create new key. I'm going to select JSON here. Once you are fine with JSON, click on create, and this will then allow you to download the specific JSON file. So I'm going to save here, and the private key has been saved to my computer. So be careful with this key since this grants access to your cloud resources. So make sure to store it securely. When you configure your service account, you need to grant user access to the service account. Although Google shows the step is optional, if you skip the step, the Google Play Console API access page will not show newly created service accounts. So now go back to the Google Console, click on Done, and you will find the email under your service accounts here. Now back in your Google Play Console, under Users and Permissions, you can invite a new user. And here you can invite the email that you have in your service accounts on your Google Cloud platform. So I'm going to add that in here, as well as scroll down to give account permissions. I'm going to add admin permissions here. So all permissions are going to be gifted to this email address that we have created in the service account. So let's click on invite user, and then this will invite the user to our permission. Now this will invite the user to test our applications, and you can invite other users as well, like email addresses that you are using yourself as well, just to be sure. Now at this point, we can go back to our store's configuration in our Qonversion.io dashboard. So here we can add our server's account JSON credentials. Therefore, you can open up your JSON file. There you will find these details that you have here with the client email, the client ID, the private key, and so forth. Once you open the JSON file, mark everything and copy it by pressing the Ctrl and C key or right-clicking and copying, and then paste it here as the service account credential JSON. Then we just need to add the application ID in our app level build.gradle file. So this will be required for push notifications. Well, in order to find it, you need to make sure that you have the build settings for Android installed on your Unity settings. So here, build settings, you need to have Android available here. If you don't have that available, you will not be able to do the next step. Regardingly, it will be the same thing in iOS. So you will find this install with Unity Hub. So let me click on that, and then it will show me the iOS build support that I can add from here. Even though I'm not going to do that for iOS because I'm not using a Mac here and it wouldn't really help me much, but I have installed the Android build support here. Okay, so that's what you will find when you are running the same thing here for Android. And once you added the build support, then you can select Android and you can switch the platform for your project. So now the project will be used as an Android game or Android application. All right, this one will take a little while, and once it is done, you can go ahead and to the next step, which means you can now find out the package name. So let me close this and go over to my project settings, and here I can find it under player, and here's the company name, default company. You can change that, and there we have other settings. So under other settings, you can go down and you find your identification. So here under identification, you need to have a package name. Now the package name usually is something like then let's say tutorials EU.cookie clicker would be a package name. So it's important that it's consisting of 3 parts, and usually what you would do is you use your domain dot name of the application. So this has to be unique before you publish it on the Play Store. So don't use the same that I'm using here, otherwise this wouldn't work for you. So then for the scripting backend, I'm going to use IL2CPP, and we need to make sure that we activate ARM64 because otherwise we might run into errors. And we also need to make sure that the target API level is set accordingly. So I'm going to set it as API level 30 because that's the latest one that I can use here, even though like Android 12 and 13, like they are available here as well. But I'm just going to use API level 30. You can test this and upload it to the Play Store. In case you are doing this in the future, you might need to use a different API level here and upload it to the Play Store again, because otherwise they will say something like your API level must be at least level 30 to ensure that it's built on the latest API optimized for security and performance. So this is something where you should be fine if you're using the latest one, but I'm just going to use the latest one, which has a proper name to it. So API level 30 in my case is the right one. So if you're doing this in the future, it might be a higher number than 30. Also, you maybe have to update your Android SDK after making this change, depending on what you have downloaded in your Android SDK. Okay, so now we need to copy this, and let's also make sure that we apply the changes. So now we just need to make sure that we are applying these changes. So let's close it just to make sure if we have it set up correctly. under player, scroll down, you will find, okay, the changes have been applied. That's great. Now we can use this package name because that's the ID that we will need for Qonversion.io. So here, this will be the Android package name for our application. Now, in my case, I think I need to change it to Cookie Clicker 1 because otherwise the package name will be taken already from our test run. Now click on continue and we should be done. We're now ready to install the SDK. Once completed, Qonversion will track subscription events and send them where you need it, which means that we now can install the SDK following the documentation for iOS and Android, configure integration, invite team members, and so forth. The next thing that we're going to do, however, is going to be the creation of products. Okay, so now let's take care of creating our products. And what I mean with this are the in-app purchases and the subscriptions that allow us to get rid of the ads, for example, but also the additional cookie styles that the cookie clicker can then have. So let's go ahead and create a new app. Even though I have one here already, I'm just going to create a new one. I'm going to call this one Cookie Clicker. And I do that in order for you to be able to follow along if you skip through the other stuff. So we create the new app. I go and select game, as well as make sure that this app is set as free because it's not going to be a paid app. Then I'm reading through all of these policies and so forth, what I'm accepting here, and I accept it once I'm ready with it. Okay. And then we can go ahead and click create app. So what I want to do now is I want to do testing. And if I go, for example, to in-app products or subscriptions, then it says your app doesn't have any in-app products yet. To add in-app products, you need to add billing permission to your APK. Well, I can now upload a new APK from here. This will then send me to the closed testing with the alpha track, for example. So you can create different tracks like the alpha track, the beta track, and so forth. But that's unfortunately not what I want to do at this point, because closed testing, it requires a lot of effort. We need to set up a lot of stuff. The effort is almost the same as if you were publishing the app for production. You need to enter all of the details about the rating, whether it's for children and so forth, before you then can go through the closed testing. So I'm going to select internal testing here because that's what I want to do. It's a lot simpler and we can test our application very quickly this way. Okay, so in order to now create a new release, which I can do from here, I can, well, add a bundle. And the bundle is going to actually be our game. In order for us to be able to build this properly, let's go to build settings and from here go to player settings. So what you will find is that I'm under publishing settings, and if you want to publish an application, you need to make sure that you have the key store manager assigned to it. And if you don't have a key store manager, you can create a new key store manager in a dedicated location. So I'm going to put it into my Qonversion folder. I'm gonna save my key store there. Then you need to give it a password, confirm the password. Now the thing is, when you do that, you are creating a key store which can have a bunch of keys assigned to it or key values. And I'm going to create one key value. So my new key, for example, will be the alias of it. And then you can enter a password, which can very well be a different password than what you had up here. So this will be the password of the key, and this up here is the password of the key store, which is a collection of keys. Then you can change the settings down here to give more details about the application that will be then published or that you will produce or build from it. So this will be tutorials EU in my case, and then I can add the key. Once I did that, this pop-up will appear. I'm just going to accept it, and then I need to enter my password here again for the key store and select a key alias, and I'm going to enter the password once again. Then under other settings, we really need to make sure that this package name is going to be unique. So I'm just going to create tutorials EU cookie clicker 4. Now you could call it cookie clicker app and then any number after it. It's really important that this package name is going to be a unique package name. All right, so this by itself will, however, not be enough. We also need to make sure that we check this box here. So build app bundle Google Play. So really make sure that you check this box, otherwise this will not work. Now at this point, let's build our in-app purchase. And you see that I have this name, Cookie Clicker app. I have created multiple Cookie Clicker apps before for testing purpose. So let me override the existing one that I had there. And this build then will take a little while. All right, once the build was successful, we now have a file on our PC that is the AAB file. So the Cookie Clicker here, in my case, this Cookie Clicker app AAB. Okay, now let's go ahead and use it for our app bundle. So let's drag this AAB file in here. This will then generate the release details for us. So the release name at least will be automatically generated based on the settings that we had in our app or in our Unity game, so to speak. Okay, this will take a little while, but then once it's done, you will find app bundle with the version 1.0, which we had set up if we were precise inside of our build settings, in the player settings to be more precise. So here you see version 1, the bundle version code is 1. So version is actually 1.0. Okay, so now that we have that, we can save this and we can review our release. So now you see we have some warnings here that our app cannot be published yet and so forth. But for now, what we are really interested in is to start a rollout for internal testing. So let's click on rollout and then it will roll us out the internal testing settings. We have our release here, but we need to set up some testers. So here there's this testers tab and here you can select testers groups. So you can create a mailing list here, tester group 1, for example, add the email addresses in here, press enter and then save the changes. The email addresses will appear down here. Save changes will turn blue and you can create this list and it will appear here then. So let me save the changes now. And now I can go over to my subscription. So here in-app products are there, subscriptions are there. I can create subscriptions. In case you had any issues getting here, delete the project and try to follow this process again. In my case, it took 2 or 3 times until I actually got to this point where the managed subscriptions just worked and I didn't get the billing error. So in case you get the billing error, there is a workaround and we have an entire article that you can follow along with where you will find how to fix that problem. All right, at this point, we can create a subscription. So let's give this a product ID or a name, so to speak. I'm just going to call this one premium and actually with a lowercase p, premium, and the subscription details that you want to give it. I'm just going to call it premium here as well, keeping it simple. Now you can give a more in-depth description, but for the testing purposes, this should be fine because we really just want to make sure that we save this product. And well, actually we need to set a price here as well. So as this is a subscription, we could do something like it will be a monthly subscription where we set a price of €1, very simple, and apply the price and click on save. Let's see if we still get the errors. It doesn't seem like it. It's all fine with our subscription setup. So you can also have subscription options here where there's a free trial and introductory price, a grace period, and so forth. But that is really up to you if you want to make any changes. So you will see that it's currently inactive and you need to click on activate in order to make sure that your subscription is active. So while we're on this page, let's also go to our in-app products and go ahead and create a product in here as well. So the product name will be chocolate chip cookie. So this one thing was the subscription. So this will be to get rid of the ads. And now this in-app product will be used in order to activate additional cookie styles, so to speak. So this will be something which you would add to your game if you want to have additional skins that your users can use or whatever kind of in-app products you can think of. Now here you can also set a price. I'm gonna say it's going to be €1 as well. Very simple price here. You can have multi-quantity settings here so that you can purchase more of this product. So this would be, for example, if you're selling coins or something like that. In our case, it's just very specific cookies that you can purchase one by one. So let me save that and activate this as well because it's inactive at this point. Okay, so we have a subscription now that is active, which is premium, and we have an in-app product, which is chocolate chip cookie, which are both available as in-app products. So therefore, let's go over to dash.qonversion.io. And here we had our cookie clicker application, and we will find the product center here under tools, and we can create a new product. All right. So here, for example, the product that we're going to create is going to be our chocolate cookie. So the chocolate chip cookie to be more precise. And this will be a non-recurring purchase. The duration will in this case not be selectable. And the Google Play product identifier is exactly the same. So it's really important that you use this product ID in here, because that's the same value. That's the identifier that we get there. And we can now save this product. Now let's create another product. This time it's a direct subscription, and we called it premium, or at least I called it premium. So here under subscriptions, that's the ID that I get here. So I need to enter it here. It's a direct subscription, and I said it would be a monthly subscription, for example. Now I need to enter the premium identifier. So this will be the conversion identifier, and this is the Google product identifier. So you can call this differently if you want to, but this has to be exactly the same as this ID here. Okay, and now let's save this as well. So next we're going to create an offering. We will be using the offering system for purchasing the subscription. An offering is a group of products that you can offer to a user on a given paywall based on your business logic. For example, you can offer one set of products on a paywall immediately after onboarding and another set of products with discounts later on if a user has not converted. Offerings allow changing the products offered remotely without releasing app updates. So conversion offerings are not required to use Qonversion's infrastructure mode, but they enable the following features. They enable you to run A/B testing. They allow you to change products offered to your users without an app release, and store products and experiment results in one place with the aggregated data on them. So we only want to test out the in-game code of purchasing through offerings. So with just adding the subscription to it, it'll be enough. So let's go ahead and create offerings by clicking on offering. So what is an offering? Well, an offering will be used in order to allow you to run A/B tests, change products offered to your users without a new app release. So let's say you have multiple products that you want to sell to the user, but it really depends on how the user reacts. So let's say for a while you want to display product A, but then later on you want to display product B because they didn't buy product A. Also, this gives you details about store products and experiment results in one place with aggregated data on them. So what performed better? So we only want to test out the in-game code of purchasing through offerings. Let's go ahead and give it the name of premium, for example, and select our premium product and attach that product to this offering. Now you could have multiple products here. You see, I can select the other product here as well. You could have a bunch more products, but I'm just going to leave it with that. Then let me create another offering for our chocolate chip cookie, selecting the chocolate chip cookie product to that offering. And again, we could have multiple offerings here. Now let's go ahead and take care of permissions. A permission is access to some premium features of your application. Examples of permissions could be YouTube Premium, Netflix Standard or Netflix Premium, Duolingo Plus, or something like that. You see, I have some permissions here already, but they're not fully done yet. So let's look at how a permission is going to be created. So you click on Create Permission, then you give it a permission identifier. So for example, my chocolate chip cookie, and then I can add or assign a product that will be unlocked if this permission has been given. So here I would select chocolate chip cookie. But as I have created this already, I'm going to edit the one that I had here. So the identifier is chocolate chip cookie, and the product I will select here is going to be chocolate chip cookie. Now you see there could be multiple products that you can unlock if somebody gets that permission. Now the same goes for premium. Let me add the permission to premium here as well. Okay. Now you could have multiple different types of permissions obviously as well, allowing people to only get parts of your application and others not. Therefore they would maybe need a different permission and so forth. But at this point we are ready to implement Qonversion.io into our Unity project. So let's look at that. Okay, so we will be installing Qonversion.io through Git. So if you don't have Git installed on your PC, make sure to go to git-scm.com/download, and then in my case it's /win because I'm on Windows. I'm going to use this 64-bit installer, and let's keep the default settings. In my case, at least, if you know more, you can obviously make changes to your installation. And once it's done, we can finish it. So before we run Git, let's also make sure that we get the external dependency manager. So you can find it can just search for external dependency manager, latest Unity package, but basically that's the file that we need, and it's a rather small file. So click on download and save it where you will find it. And then once you've downloaded this package, go to your cookie clicker project. So here, in my case, it's here, cookie clicker, and then search for manifest. So here you will find this manifest JSON file, this one, and that's the one that we need to edit. So open it up, and under dependencies, so inside of dependencies, we need to add a dependency. I'm going to put it at the very bottom here. After a comma, I need to separate this. It will be com.conversion with a Q, conversion.unity. Okay, and here I'm going to use https://github.com/conversion/unity -sdk.git and hashtag 3.2.1, and then save your manifest file. Okay, so back in Unity, the Unity packager will restore packages then. And then once all of that is done, now let's go ahead and install this package that we just downloaded, this external dependency package manager. So let's import it. And then this window will pop up, enable Android auto resolution. So I'm gonna click enable here, and then this will resolve the Android dependencies for me, which will run the Gradle and make some changes. This will then take a little while, as you can see here. So as you can see, in my case, all is good. I get this resolver error, but that shouldn't be a problem. If it will become, we will see. And now if you get this error here where it says Java home is not set and no Java command could be found in your path, then you need to right click on your computer, select properties, click on the advanced tab, then select environment variables, and then edit the Java home to the point where your JDK software is located. So you will find your environment variables then, and your system variables, and then find your Java home. So in my case, you see it's C program files Java JDK. So if you don't have the Java home variable, you'll need to create one. And if you don't have the Java JDK, you need to download it from Oracle. So just search for JDK 17. Okay, now we need to enable multi-decks. Therefore, let's go ahead to our project settings, then player settings. Under players and publishing settings, we need to enable custom launcher Gradle template here. This will create this new file for you, which you find under assets, plugins, Android launcher template Gradle. Okay, so let's look at that. Assets, plugins, Android launcher template Gradle. So this will be the launcher template Gradle file. Let me actually show it in the Explorer and open this file with the editor. So old school editor. And here you will find apply plugin Android application. That's great. Unity library. That's great. So here under dependencies, that's where I'm going to add another implementation, which is gonna be within quotation here, Android X, and this is a single quote, right? Multi-decks, multi-decks 2.0.1. And then save this file. So just add this line here, Android X and here there's a D missing. Really important that it's written correctly. So exactly as I have it here. Actually, let me paste it in so just that I'm sure that I wrote it correctly. And then just inside of Android, just underneath default config, add multi-decks enabled true. Make sure it's always inside of Android and inside of the default config to avoid any kind of errors. And that's it. Save it. Now, if you were trying to build this now, you might run into an error. So let's prevent this error straight away by making sure that we have the custom Gradle properties template selected here as well. And this will create this file here, which we'll find in the same folder, but it's called Gradle template.properties. So let's go into this file, and you also see that our plugin here really helps us out. It labels the libraries and runs the Gradle again for us. Once that is done, let's go into the Gradle template. So here, Gradle template properties, and let me open it again with the good old editor. And here we just need to make sure that we have this line here, which says Android, use Android X true. So in case you don't have it, add it under additional properties. And that's it. Qonversion is now successfully installed, and we can get started buying a subscription and removing apps inside of our game. And now one last thing before we can actually test it properly, we need to make sure that we have custom main Gradle template activated here as well. So this will create this main template Gradle file for us. All right, now at this point, I'm getting the external dependency manager Google iOS resolver error, and that's because I don't have iOS installed. Now you can just go ahead and install the iOS module, even if you're not going to use it directly, but this will fix this little problem here. There might be other workarounds for this, but I think this will be the easiest one, as this is just done with a couple of clicks. In that case, just to be sure, let's make sure that this is going to work by closing the project and opening it up again. And at this point, to see if Qonversion is properly set up, just open up the Qonversion launcher file. And if in this file you see that this Qonversion name here is colored in a green color, such as, for example, here the debug is, or you could call it, well, green or something like that, then you're fine. In my case, you see it's a miscellaneous file. So how can I fix this? Well, there are multiple ways to fixing this. You can then follow along this Stack Overflow description here or post. And this guy is amazing. He gave multiple different options of how to fix it. So the one that should fix it for me is to re-import everything. Let's try that at least and go over to our Unity, go to Assets and re-import all. This can then take a little while, but potentially could fix the problem. And if that doesn't fix it, what fixed it for me is going to Preferences, activating all of those settings, making sure that Visual Studio is closed, activating all of those settings, closing that, then, well, actually also regenerate project files. Here it's really important that in the external tools you have your Visual Studio 2019 version activated. 2022 doesn't seem to work properly for me, at least. And then also I clicked on this button, on this regenerate button, regenerate, and then re-import all. And then once you open up the Qonversion launcher, and after it loaded, this will take a little bit, you will see one very important thing is that it's not a miscellaneous file or miscellaneous file. So here you see it's empty because it's still loading, but once it's fully loaded, you will find that it's Qonversion Unity SDK, and then you will also be able to use the Qonversion class here to access its methods, which we will do in the next part of the video. All right, so at this point, you know that it works, that Qonversion is set up, and we can get started with the next step, which would be to buying a subscription and removing ads in the app. Okay, so now it's actually time. Let's go ahead and buy a subscription and remove ads in our app. Let's therefore create a new game object, which I'm going to call Qonversion Manager with a Q. And I'm going to reset its position. It's always good. And now add the Qonversion launcher component here. So what you will need to do is you need to set debug mode because we're testing it, right? And then add your application access key, which is your project key. You can find it under your settings on Qonversion here at the bottom. So this will be your project key. Just copy that and put it in here. Now let's look at this Qonversion launcher. So we have an access key variable, which just takes the access key that I just entered, the debug mode setting, as well as the observe mode. So if we're in debug mode, then we are setting the debug mode. So the method is called here. And then when we're in the start method, we're launching Qonversion with the application access key and the observer mode if we have activated it up here, which I personally haven't in my case. Okay, so the observer mode allows you to use Qonversion with your existing in-app subscription flow. So now let's just test this, whether Qonversion works properly. And as I showed earlier, once you enter Qonversion dot and it shows you a bunch of methods, then you're good to go. So let's take care of setting a property, for example. So under launch, inside of our start method, let's go ahead and use Qonversion dot set property. And then here we're going to pass the enum called user property with a dot. And here you can see which options we have. So it gives us, for example, the adjust ad ID or the custom user ID, which I'm going to use. And then I need to pass a value to it. So for example, your user ID just for testing purposes. So simple as that. For the simplicity of this tutorial, we won't be needing to do so. So we'll be removing this line again. This was just really to give you an idea of what you could do here in order to get more control over your ads. So maybe set this up in a custom conversion manager script like the one we're going to set up right now. And by the way, you can get user properties. So I really recommend the documentation. It's really good. The conversion documentation is very useful. We have John Doe, who is a premium user, and we can get the signal ID, the location, and so forth, and even usage information. So that's really the power of using conversion. And by the way, if you want us to go deeper into this user properties and so forth, make sure to like the video and leave a comment down below. Okay, now let's show our premium subscription offering. For that, let's get back to Unity and let's go ahead and create a new script. Therefore, I'm not gonna go into packages, but into my own assets here, into the scripts folder. And there, let's go ahead and create a new C# script, which I'm going to call Conversion Manager. And the first thing that I want to do is I want to use this conversion Unity namespace. Now I can access conversion IO methods. So the first thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to set up a new method here, public void show offerings. And here I'm going to use conversion.offerings, where I need to pass in the offerings and error. Well, I'm going to pass the offerings and error, and then I'm going to use this lambda to run some beautiful code. So inside of the conversion offerings, we now have access to offerings.available offerings. So here, this one here, which is a list of offerings from your dash. So let's use that to show it as a purchase option. So first, let's go ahead and create here at the very top a text mesh text that we want to be able to display. So here, text mesh pro GUI called premium text. Now for this to work, we need to make sure that we import TM Pro, and let's by default set the text of this premium text to be no offerings available. Okay, and then once we call show offerings, what we're going to do first is we're going to check if the error is null. And if that's the case, then we can do something nice. And if we get an error, we can do something not so nice. So if we don't get an error, so if error is null, then we're going to show our offering with the ID of premium. You might recall we had this premium offering, and we're going to first of all check if it's not null. So if this offering isn't null, and then if it's not null, we're going to set the premium text to be get the, and here I'm going to use concatenation offerings dot offering ID or offering for ID premium dot ID plus subscription. So let me put that into a proper line so that we can read it better. Okay, which means I'm going to put it like this and like that. Okay, so this will be the text for the premium text here, and this will already show your subscription name. Since we only have one right now, it'll just show the one we are after. Now let's make the button actually buy a subscription. For that, let's make another method here, which I'm going to call MakePurchase. Public void MakePurchase with the string, which is going to be the product ID. This time we will be using the conversion.purchase method. So inside of this MakePurchase method, let's use conversion.purchase, where we need to pass the product ID as well as run the on-permission received callback. So I'm just going to keep it simple. I'm just going to use a lambda here. All right, so I'm going to check if error is null, then do something, and else do something else. And here, let's finish this with a semicolon. This will make a purchase for our offering. It'll look for the offering with the set ID and set it to purchase. Let's make the button press buy this product. First, we need to add the button to our script as a public variable. And therefore, let's go ahead and add Unity engine.ui, and then we can use the button variable here or the class to create a button. So I'm going to call this one premium button. Okay, now we can use this premium button just underneath our subscription down here to go ahead and premium button dot on click dot add a listener, where I'm going to use a lambda which has no parameters, and it's just going to call our make purchase with the offerings dot offering for ID with the premium offering, and there dot ID. And we need to finish this line, this make purchase. Actually, we need to finish this make purchase here. Let me see. ID and like so. Finish it with a semicolon. By the way, just to mention, since in our case, offerings and products have the same ID, we can get away with sending in the offering ID as a product ID. But usually what you would need to be doing is actually send to the purchase method the product ID and not the offering ID, since they can vary greatly. So how that would be done in a more common case is by, instead of ID, we type out products. This will give us a list of all products contained in that offer. And then, because our offering has just a single product, we can get just the first one like this. Then, because what we need to receive in the purchase method we set up earlier is a string, and specifically a product ID, we would need to be sending the conversion ID we set up on conversion. This now will take the associated product to this offering, the first one specifically, or the only one in our case, and send in its ID. But what if we had more than one product? In that case, things will change a bit, since that would mean that we would need to take that into account. One way would be to list the products that this offering includes on our app. Then let our user pick and choose from those products, and then just make the purchase for those chosen specifically. Or if this purchase is meant for the entire offering, then you would need to go through the list of containing products and make a purchase for each one of them. Since the products for each offering is a complete list, as we can see right here, list product offering.products, we can just go through by typing 0, 1, 2, or whatever position the product may be in, or also using a for each loop or any other loop to go through the products. But like I said, since in our case there is just one product, we could use this with the conversion ID. And even to further simplify it for this tutorial's sake, just sending in the offering ID itself. But like said, this is just specifically for our case, since offering ID and product ID are the same and our offering just has one product included in it. For now, we will just continue it like this, but just so you know, in your case, the code may have to be different. And otherwise, we're going to set the premium text to be an error. So just error, and this will only work for the text property of the premium text, because this here can be a string, right? And we can store it inside of it. So now we have this MakePurchase method, which should do the purchase, right? But we also need to show the offerings at one point. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to show the offerings in my start method here directly. And the problem is, if we do that, we will need to change the conversion launcher.cs. So this one here to be awake, because we need to make sure that it launches beforehand. So this will be in the awake method, and then this will be in the start method, so that we have the right order of execution. Okay, now after the successful purchase, we can check the permission status to check if the user got a premium subscription. So for that, we can create another method, public void check permission, which will need the permission ID. And then we can just use conversion.check permissions for our lambda here, permission, comma, error, and then say what we want to do in that case. So if error is null, so we don't get any error, so to speak, then we can check the permissions, and not the ID, but the permissions dot try get value with the permission ID. And we're going to out the permission. We can out the permission plus, and plus is going to be set to active. Okay, so now what is it that we want to do in this case? Okay, so this is what we're doing here. If permission try get value, permission ID, and the permission call plus is going to be active. So in that case, we can do something, otherwise we can do something else. So something with this went wrong, and if we got an error in the first place, we can also, well, display error, for example. So this will check if the user has the premium permission. If yes, it will tell us that we have the subscription. So now to enabling and disabling the ads, the simplest way would be the following. So in our interstitial ad example CS, which we had created, so this one here, let's go ahead and create a Boolean, public bool show ad, which I'm going to set to true. Now in the show ad method, There we can check if show ad is true, then do all of this magic, which wasn't really magic, but showing the advertisement, and otherwise don't show the advertisement. So now in the conversion manager, we need to get a reference to our interstitial ad example. So public interstitial ad example, which I'm going to call interstitial ad example. Now we can go ahead and in our check permission method, if we try to get the values and we check the value, so the permission ID, we check if it is the premium, and here I need to be precise, it needs to be exactly written as in our backend. Then I can use the premium text, text to be got the subscription, and then I can set my interstitial ad example, show ad to be false. So in that case, we don't want to show the ad to the user. But else, so inside of this else block, if the permission ID is premium, then I want to show the ad. So I'm gonna set the ad to true. So show ad. Because in that case, so in the else case, where we don't have the permission, so the permission is not active, so to speak, in this case, then we want to display the ad. So now inside of our make purchase, you might recall we tried to do the purchase with the product ID and we got the permission and the error, but we never did anything with it. So here, what I'm going to do is I'm going to set the premium text to be bought, the product ID, and then I'm going to check the permission with my permissions, and this should be actual permissions, plural, permissions to string. And then in the case that we get an error, I'm going to display the error on my premium text. All right, and now let's actually test this. So let's go to our conversion manager and make sure that we drag our conversion manager in there. Then, so this is the game that we have so far. We need to make sure that we use the right texts here. So the premium button. So we had this button here, cookies consumed, played all cookies, but then we had our menu here. Okay, so let's jump to the menu. Let's make it properly visible. Main menu. Okay, and then we have here subscribe. Now here everything is in the way. We can deactivate this, the gizmos here at the top. Subscribe to remove ads. So that's what we need to assign here. So let me open this. Which one is it? It's this subscribe button. So let's go to conversion. Let's drag this premium button in there. And then this is the text that we have, right? This subscribe to remove ads. Let me see. So this is the button to buy more cookies. We will see later. And this should be the text that says subscribe to remove ads. And we want to replace this text later on. And then here, interstitial ad example, this should be from our game manager. So here, conversion, game manager, interstitial ad example. So let me see. I think that should be fine. Okay, because the game manager owns the interstitial ad example. All right, before we continue, let's make a quick test to see if everything's working as planned. So for that, let's first make a build. Make sure to actually build it as an APK, not an AAB, because we just want to test it in our emulator. So click on build in whatever folder you want to actually build our APK and save it. And once the build is complete, you should have an APK right there. We're going to be testing this in our Android emulator. And the emulator that we're going to be using is the Moomoo Player. To be exact, you can really pick any emulator you want. Moomoo Player is just our pick for today's emulator. So let's do that. Since we already have Moomoo Player, double click on APK and it will start installing. And after our successful installation, we just open the app. Since we left open the menu, it will open right away. And you've just seen it jumped from getting offerings to get the premium subscription. What that means is that it found the product, it got its name, its ID in this case, and technically it also set an event to the button itself. There we go. By premium, this pop-up comes in with the premium subscription here for this amount of money for, well, this time frame. And well, that's what we had set up before as a test. And yeah, we could now just test it by subscribing. Let's actually try and see what happens when we click on subscribe. There we go, Google Group Play points from purchases. So for us, we can see the purchase went through. Google Play accepted it as a successful purchase of our premium subscription. Okay, let's now continue with implementing buying a cookie skin. Since our plan here is that we will be able to click on the cookie right here, and it would swap out the cookie in game to the skin that we present right here. Okay, let's start doing that. First, we actually need to set up our button for just like we set up this button for the premium purchase. So in here, show offerings inside of Qonversion Manager. Let's make another if statement. Open that. In here, check for offerings.offeringForID, opening parentheses, and this time check for chocolate chip cookie. Just the same name that we give it in our Qonversion products. Make sure that these IDs are correct because it's going to be searching, like we said, for the ID that the actual ID of the product. Now, just like the one on top, check if it actually exists. So as long as it's not null. And now let's add an add listener to the actual cookie button. But for that, let's first create a variable that contains our cookie button game object. At the very top underneath premium button, create a new public button, chocolate cookie button. Now down here, again, just copy and paste this line right here, since it's going to be basically the same, and change this for the chocolate chip cookie button right here. And here, change it for this ID. And there we go. Now, as we can remember, this is going to call the check permission method. In here, we need to set this up as well to check if we have the chocolate chip cookie permission. But that underneath the if statement, just add on else if permission ID equals to chocolate chip cookie. That way, in case this is really true, it will go in here, and in here we will be setting up the whole swapping thing. But first, let's make sure that we have the same line right down here inside of the if else statement. And now we can go to actually making the swapping happen. For that, we need to go to our game manager, and in here we can go and create a new variable called public bool and something like swap allowed. That should work. Now further down here, let's create a new public void, so a new method called swap cookie, and make sure that inside of swap cookie we have a game object cookie. Now in here we need to first check if swap cookie is true, swap allowed that means, and in here we just, in case that it is, we just destroy the current spawned cookie, and underneath we can call spawn cookie with the cookie that we got. Okay, now if we go back to our Qonversion manager, inside of these else ifs that we created, we need to set game manager dot swap allowed to true, and in case that not, game manager dot swap out equals false. And this should already set everything up so that in the moment that we buy our cookie skin, and as soon as it checks actually if we have the permission to be detected, yes we do, it will allow the swapping of our cookie. And in here we just can call swap cookie to make this swapping happen. Great. Okay, let's just use this opportunity to see if our purchasing code actually works. Just make sure that the game manager is added correctly. So just drag the game object right in here, and we'll get the script exported like always. And after again installing it on our emulator, we can open it again and try it out by clicking on the cookie itself. After a while, we can see that this here opens, so we can just agree if we want to continue. And here we go. Chocolate chip cookie, cookie clicker, 119. That, well, everything is set up like we want it to be, and we can use the test card since this is all in testing mode. And now you can just click on one tap buy and it processes and the payment is successful. All right, and that's it for this video. I hope you enjoyed it. Now you know how to do monetization, how to implement it into your application, also how to use Qonversion.io, the sponsor of this video. Thanks a lot again to them for helping us out to make this video and for sponsoring this video, and also for offering this cool service which you can use for free, by the way, as a beginner or without having a proper business set up yet. So just do it, and I wish you all the best on your journey to making money with your games and with your apps in general. And yeah, let us know about your successes and also about your challenges in the comments down below. And I hope to see you in the next video.